Welcome to Starship TV. Here is a look at the life of Mark Twain. Mark Twain, a life of adventure, reflection, and literary genius. Early life in Missouri. Samuel Langhorne Clemens, known to the world as Mark Twain, was born on November 30, 1835, in Florida, Missouri, a small village on the Missouri frontier. When he was 4, his family moved to Hannibal, Missouri, a bustling river town on the Mississippi River. Hannibal became the inspiration for many of his stories, notably The Adventures of Tom Sawyer and Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. His early years were shaped by the culture of the antebellum South, slavery, and the lively but often harsh realities of frontier life. Twain's father, John Marshall Clemens, was a judge and storekeeper, but he died in 1847, leaving the family in financial difficulty. Young Samuel left school at age 12 and became an apprentice printer, later working for his brother Orion's newspaper, the Hannibal Journal. His exposure to newspapers and books began shaping his writing style and love of storytelling. Out West, The Adventures of a Young Man. In 1857, Samuel apprenticed as a steamboat pilot on the Mississippi River, a profession that deeply influenced his writing and where he adopted his pen name, Mark Twain, a riverboat term meaning 2 fathoms, 12 feet, safe water for navigation. However, the Civil War halted river traffic, and Twain headed west in 1861 with his brother Orion, who had been appointed Secretary of the Nevada Territory. Twain tried his hand at mining but found little success, eventually turning to journalism. He worked for newspapers in Virginia City, Nevada, and San Francisco, California. It was during this period that he wrote The Celebrated Jumping Frog of Calaveras County, which brought him national fame. Elmira, New York, and How He Met His Wife. Twain's connection to Elmira, New York, was deeply personal and lifelong. In 1867, while on a speaking tour, Twain met Olivia Langdon, the sister of a friend he had met during a voyage to the Holy Land. Olivia, known as Livy, was from a wealthy and progressive family in Elmira. They corresponded for 2 years before becoming engaged. Twain and Olivia were married in 1870 in Elmira. Twain cherished his time in Elmira, spending over 20 summers at Quarry Farm, the home of Livy's sister, Susan Crane, located on East Hill overlooking the Chemung River Valley. There, he wrote many of his most significant works, including parts of The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, A Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court, and Life on the Mississippi. Elmira provided Twain with a peaceful refuge from the pressures of his public life and travels. The octagonal study built for him by his in-laws at Quarry Farm became his favorite writing place and is now preserved on the campus of Elmira College. Life in Hartford, Connecticut. In 1874, the Clemens family moved to Hartford, Connecticut, where they built an elaborate Victorian Gothic mansion, now the Mark Twain House and Museum. Hartford was a literary and social center at the time, and Twain became friends with other writers, including Harriet Beecher Stowe, his neighbor. While in Hartford, Twain wrote many of his best-known works, including The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, 1876, The Prince and the Pauper, 1881, Life on the Mississippi, 1883, and Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, 1884. Despite his literary success, Twain made poor investments, particularly in the page typesetting machine, which led to severe financial troubles. World travels and financial recovery. To recover from bankruptcy, Twain embarked on a world lecture tour from 1895 to 1896. His travels took him to Australia, India, South Africa, and Europe, and he documented his experiences in Following the Equator, 1897. These travels, while physically grueling, provided him with financial relief and new material. Twain was fascinated by the Holy Land, which he first visited in 1867, an experience he recounted humorously and critically in The Innocents Abroad, 1869. His depiction of Jerusalem was skeptical and critical, describing it as decayed and unimpressive, reflecting both his cynicism and his challenges to romanticized Western views of the East. Books and literary contributions. Mark Twain's works span genres including satire, travel writing, historical fiction, and social commentary. His most influential books include The Innocents Abroad, 1869 satirical travel narrative about his voyage to Europe and the Holy Land. Roughing It, 1872 recounts his adventures in the Wild West. The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, 1876 celebrates boyhood on the Mississippi. The Prince and the Pauper, 1880, won a historical novel about identity and social class. Life on the Mississippi, 1883. Memoir and travel book about the river. Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, 1884, often called the great American novel for its exploration of race, freedom, and morality. A Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court, 1889, a satire of industrialization and romanticized history. Following the Equator, 1897, a travelogue of his world lecture tour. Halley's Comet and his death. Twain was born shortly after Halley's Comet appeared in 1835, and he famously predicted he would go out with it when it returned. True to his word, he died on April 21, 1910, the day after the comet's closest approach to Earth. Twain considered the comet's appearance a cosmic coincidence that bookended his life. Mark Twain's time in Elmira, a closer look. Twain's connection to Elmira was more than familial, it was creative, spiritual, and restorative. The quarry farm, situated on a quiet hilltop, offered the solace Twain needed to write. Susan and Theodore Crane, Livy's sister and brother-in-law, hosted the Clemens family each summer. The octagonal study, designed to look like a riverboat pilot house, was Twain's favorite workspace. There, he wrote some of his most famous and enduring works. Twain valued Elmira's tranquility, contrasting it with his bustling, chaotic life in Hartford and his public appearances. Elmira College, where his daughters later studied, holds his study and a collection of his manuscripts, letters, and memorabilia. His deep personal connection to Elmira is symbolized by the fact that he, Livy, and several family members are buried in Woodlawn Cemetery in Elmira. During his time at Quarry Farm, Twain developed many of his ideas on race, society, and morality, particularly as reflected in Huckleberry Finn. His friendship with Reverend Thomas Beecher, brother of Harriet Beecher Stowe, who pastored Elmira's Congregational Church, also deepened his understanding of American culture and religion. Legacy. Mark Twain remains a giant of American literature, known for his wit, satire, and unflinching commentary on society. His years in Elmira were some of his most productive, giving the world literary treasures that continue to inspire, challenge, and entertain.